Kicks 105.5 WKXH. Good morning, I'm JJ. It is Wednesday, December 28th at 7:47. Every week, 7:47. What is up with that number? It's 21 degrees outside, and I'll have your full weather forecast coming up in just a little bit. But right now, we are going to talk with Mike Barrett from the Barrett Insurance Agency. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, 7:47. I'm nothing if not prompt, huh? I don't know if that's the time I'm supposed to be on the air or not, but at least I'm consistent, I guess, right?
Yeah,
So,
well, hey, it all works.
yes. So this morning in policies, you and I were trying to figure out, God, what do we talk about today? You know, we're in between holidays, so my brain's not fully functional. It's between Christmas and New Year's, and it's not quite there yet, and that's kind of the case for everybody. But I think a no-brainer this morning was to talk about resolutions. One that you can keep, by the way.
New Year's resolution.
New Year's resolutions. You know, much easier than going to the gym and remembering to go to the gym on a regular basis, which, don't look at me. Not good at that. Surprising nobody when I say that. But maybe a good New Year's resolution this year would be to not necessarily know everything about your insurance, but know a little bit about your insurance. Have an understanding of the coverage you have. And I'm talking if you're a homeowner, try to understand, okay, here I know that I have up to X dollar amount for my house. Is that appropriate? I know I have a $500 deductible or $1,000 deductible. Try to have some sense of a basic understanding of what you have. For auto insurance, do you feel comfortable about the deductibles and the limits you've chosen? Has it been too long since you've really had a discussion to see if there's opportunities for betterment? If you've had an auto policy for a long time, you may be missing out on some of the newer components of coverage that are available, like the waiving of a glass deductible. How cool is that, right? Many companies have introduced that, but you have to specifically ask for that coverage. You can't just assume that you have it. So if you have a $500 comprehensive deductible, which, by the way, comprehensive is where glass would be, there is an option with almost every company now to have a $0 glass deductible if you ask for it. So ask for it before you have the glass claim, because that's usually when most people find out that it's available. So not a bad idea to do that. Do you have rental reimbursement on your policy? If you're a business owner, do you have business income coverage if you suffer a loss? Do you have dependent property coverage if a property that supplies you suffers a loss, now preventing product from coming to you, which now impacts your business? There's so many things at play here. Are you doing your workers' compensation audits properly? Are you reporting proper payroll for the payroll that you have so that you're paying an appropriate premium? Can I put any more P's in my conversation this morning? I just was going. So, but these are all little things that if you just have a little bit of time to do it, not a bad idea to do it. Know where your policies are. Know who to call if you have a problem. Just little things. It's interesting to me when, I ask people what they have for coverage. 90% of the time they don't know. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but that's when it can get you into troubles, because you have an expectation of how a claim is going to be handled, and that expectation could fall very well short if the coverage is not what you thought it was. So that's a basic New Year's resolution you could do. I'm not saying New Year's Day open your policy and study it, because by God, I don't even do that. But just try to make a concerted effort to have just a little more frontline knowledge so that you're not surprised.
That's good advice right there.
Yeah.
I was thinking earlier too, we were talking, and I was just curious how motor vehicle violations. And how does that affect your rate? It depends on the type of motor vehicle violation?
Very much so. The severity of the violation is what's going to impact. And a lot of people have a misunderstanding here. They hear about points on their license and think that those points transfer or translate to insurance, and they don't. It's really just the accident. It's really just what is the violation. That violation is what's going to translate to your insurance, right? So if you had something that had a couple of points in your license, and maybe you were fortunate in the fact that you contested it and those points are gone, but the violation remains, the insurance companies are going to be looking at the violation. So violations are going to be pretty, important to know. So, and there are some that are extremely, what's the word I was thinking of? There's a very low tolerance with companies for certain types of violations. So you think about driving under the influence, right? Careless and negligent operation, driving without insurance can, with some companies, have a pretty high severity to it when it comes to looking for insurance. Driving while on a cell phone is actually a pretty big one with some companies. These are things that you want to make sure you have an understanding of, that, even though you may not have points in your license, you could still have a violation that transfers to your insurance, and the insurance companies could have a problem. Now, with the ones that I just mentioned, especially the DUIs, the careless and negligent, that could mean that at your next renewal, your company is no longer going to insure you because that's so severe they don't want you anymore. And
Right. You're a bad risk.
Statistically, that's a problem. So, usually companies work with a 3-year window of violations. They kind of trail off after 3 years. With some of the more severe ones, more companies use a 5-year rule for those. Not all of them, but more will use a 5-year rule, saying, look, if you have a careless and negligent, you can't be with us for 5 years. That thing needs to just be gone and stay gone. And then a lot of the more higher severity ones will require a financial responsibility filing, which of course is the commonly known as SR22. And that can be a whole different ball of wax too, because there's only a few companies out there that support SR22 filings. Most don't. So in my office, I think I have 3 that will support an SR22. So not only are you paying more because you have these violations, you're potentially paying more because you have less of a pooling of companies that are willing to accept the risk. So you're not getting the wide array of quoting that you would get otherwise, where maybe you have 7 to 10 companies that we can look at and say, here's some great options, here's my best price. Whereas if you have some severe violations, now that 7 to 10 turns into 2 to 3. So less options to look at. So yeah, there's, and then when it comes to accidents, it comes to who's at fault. Remember, not at fault accidents usually are much better for you. So, if you have a tree branch fall on your car, if you hit a deer, if somebody hits you, these are all accidents, but they're not going to be weighted as heavily as if you caused the accident. And those can be problematic too, in terms of maybe having a little bit of increased cost, maybe a surcharge, or the loss of what we call a claims-free credit, maybe the reversal of that lower deductible. Some companies will actually lower your deductible every year when you are accident-free, and, well, that goes away once you've had an accident. Although a lot of companies do offer claims forgiveness. Claims forgiveness usually comes within a 3 to 5 year window if you stay with the same company, but some companies now, if you pay for it, will give you immediate claims forgiveness. But remember, you're paying for that. So you're paying an additional cost for them to forgive a claim. And it's not like unlimited claims forgiveness. It's like, hey, we'll forgive your first claim. Not going to forgive your 7th, John. Sorry. So those are things to consider too.
So, I have another question for you. People, I'm not going to mention any names or anything because I don't know their names. But
that makes it a lot easier.
Say you're driving through town, and I notice a lot of people are walking around with their face right in their cell phone.
Sure.
And I've seen people just walk right out
in the road.
Right out in front in the road, and not even in a crosswalk.
Yep.
Now, pedestrians have right of way.
Yes.
So if you hit them,
that's on you.
Even though they just stepped out from behind a car, you're going 25 miles an hour, and you've got 3 feet to stop.
I know. It's on you, unfortunately. I mean, you could probably try to work on that, but it's a he said, she said, and you're the one driving the car.
So if you swerve to miss them and hit a parked car,
boom, still you. And they're not even in the mix at this point. So yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah, they're probably going to
driving,
keep walking.
distracted walking. Yeah, a million and one reasons. A lot of scenarios where you could say, man, there is no way that was my fault. And I would agree with you. I think most reasonable humans would agree with you. But in the eyes of insurance, they have to pick who's at fault. And if the person who really is at fault is unknown and nowhere to be seen, and it's a he said, she said, well, they have to pick something. So that's not a very fun situation for anybody, to be honest with you. But it's common. So
that's a very slippery slope.
Yeah, pun intended. So
especially, and we have first night coming up, so there's going to be a lot of folks walking around.
Yep.
St. Johnsbury.
Yes. So of course, I do believe they close off Main Street for the event, so it should be at least a little bit safer. But hopefully everybody celebrates and has a great and happy New Year. And before we wrap up this morning, I just want to throw out there, and I know it's coming from a lot of areas, but for all the power people, Green Mountain Power, Washington Cooperative, all the people out there, who at Lindenville Electric, can't forget them, who gave up their Christmases to try to get everybody back with power. Thank you. Your work does not go unnoticed. Sometimes it seems underappreciated, but you are appreciated. So we want to thank you very much for all you do, including my brother-in-law, who works for one of the power companies, who we didn't have for our Christmas celebrations because he was out in the field helping. So
I actually gave them a shout out yesterday and thanked them for all their hard work
awesome.
and sacrifice over the Christmas weekend to get folks' power back up. Not only that, the road crews out there
Oh, the road crews too. Absolutely.
cleaning up the keeping the roads clean and safe for us to travel.
Yep, a lot of people out there who work their butts off and lose a lot of family time, quality family time at the holidays to make sure things are working for us. And thank you. So that's what I wanted to just throw out there this morning. So if you want to get a hold of us, give us a call. Barrett Insurance Agency. We're 748-5224. You can find us on Portland Street in St. Johnsbury. Online, thebarrettagency.com. Google, Facebook, and YouTube. Just look for Barrett Insurance Agency.
Well, thank you so much for coming in, Mike. I hope you had a great Christmas.
I did. How about you?
Yeah, it was uneventful, just a quiet at-home kind of thing.
Sometimes that's a good thing. That's a good
definitely,
thing. So are you going to
definitely
say it, or am I going to say it? I'll see you next year.
I'll see you next year.
Yeah. I figure one of us has to say that. So
That's kind of like a tradition.
it is. Grass is green, sky is blue. I'll see you next year. So
All right, Mike, I will see you next year. And thanks so much for coming in. Mike Barrett from the Barrett Insurance Agency, right here on Portland Street in St. Johnsbury.